trade.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had to literally somebody on Reddit made a post to kind of help navigate this six-person trade, and then they go, it also really wasn't the greatest thing, but it does the job. It serves its purpose here. But
Right.
um before we get into this six-person trade, which ultimately landed Klay Thompson in Dallas, I did want to note that the Warriors plan to hire Terry Stotts as their lead assistant coach and Jerry Stackhouse as the another assistant. So great. I think those are excellent hires. I think Terry Stotts kind of had a bad rap with how things ended in Milwaukee, but
Yeah, a little raw
by
deal there.
yeah, by all means, I think I love Terry Stotts as an offensive-minded player. You know, gave the Warriors fits turns in playoff series there with Dame and whatnot. So I'm happy to have him on our side this time. So in the free agency madness here, okay, to keep it simple, Clay went to Dallas, right?
Yeah.
But in that trade, to make things happen, money wise, salary wise, it's crazy. So in order the Warriors to trade Klay Thompson, the Warriors, and I'm going to use them as the stepping
And
stone here.
everybody, all these players were signed in trades. So all
Yes.
the players were signed and then traded.
Yes.
Yep.
So the Warriors traded Klay to Dallas. They then did a 2031 second round picks for swap and cash with Minnesota for Kyle Anderson. Okay. So then Dallas, to make this work, had to send a 2031 second round pick to the 76ers. And then to make the cash work, the 76ers had to sign and trade Buddy Hield to the Warriors. Now, to make it work for Dallas on their end, everything I just noted, they also sent Josh Green to the Hornets and a 2025 second round pick, as to which the Hornets sent a 2025 second round pick to Minnesota. And then they also sent cash to Denver, and Denver sent Reggie Jackson, 2029 second round pick, and a 2030 second round pick to the Hornets to complete this six-man trade madness.
6-team trade, yeah.
6-team trade, yes. Madness. So if you didn't catch along with that, it's okay. I still don't fully understand what I just said to you.
Yeah, so let's just break this down. In the end, Dallas is getting Klay Thompson and a 2025 second round pick.
Yes.
Minnesota is getting a 2031 second round pick swap and a 2025 second round pick and cash. The Warriors are getting Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield. Denver's getting some cash. Charlotte is getting Josh Green, Reggie Jackson, a 2029 second pick and a 2030 second round pick. And the Sixers are getting a 2031 second round pick. So,
and Minnesota's also getting a 2025 second round pick from the Hornets.
I think I said that, but
I got lost in all the picks.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to some guys break it down on the radio this afternoon, and everybody was assuming it was like, this transaction for that player and then another transaction for this player. And it didn't really come out until this morning or maybe over the weekend, actually, that it was the 6-team and it was to make money and salaries work, because sign and trades, you can't just, the Warriors could not just go out and sign these players. So they had to work all these sign and trade deals. And then they may not be done.
They may not be done, but it sounds like next year that the Warriors, and I want to say the other team was the Clippers. Don't quote me on this. They have reached a hard cap again. So they're going to probably have
16 teams on the hard cap. Actually, I got an alert from Bleacher Report, I believe.
Yeah, so they're going to have to make numbers do magical things next season. So it ain't over.
One of my number one sayings, that sounds like a tomorrow problem.
Yeah, that's future Warriors. Let them deal with it. Yeah.
Stuff will come across my desk and it's, 4 or 5 o'clock. Hey guys, sounds like that's a 7 a.m. problem to solve. I'm out.
In other free agency news here, LeBron James returns to LA for 2 years, 101 million. I think he took 3 million as a pay cut. So because he can't really go much lower than that, I believe. The big one here, DeMar DeRozan ends up in Sacramento for 3 years, $76 million sign-in trade. There already is a Sacramento fan who has a DeMar DeRozan tattoo that happened 2 days ago. So just wanted a fun little trivia fact there. Harrison Barnes gets moved to San Antonio in that trade, and Chris Duarte to Chicago. So shouts out to Harrison Barnes. He had one of his
senator finding his way to Texas.
He had one of his best playoff games ever against San Antonio, where he literally never missed a shot. So hopefully better days are for him over there as well too. Miles Bridges to Charlotte. He stays there at 3 years, 3 years, 75 million. And Mikal Bridges crosses the Brooklyn Bridge in a trade to the New York Knicks. It sounds like there was a player that was finally moved to go to New Jersey, but it sounds like they've still got to work out some more of the kinks in that trade's not finalized just yet. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the New York Knicks, the moves that they made and that team returning, they got like basically a championship caliber team from college. They
have all of Villanova as their starting five.
Did you guys see, this is off not on our notes, but did you guys see the video of Stephen A. Smith, ESPN and all, everybody knows Stephen A. He's a huge Knicks fan, so he was going crazy that the Knicks pulled this trade off, and he's so thankful and this and that. Somebody went and found the clips that said Villanova wasn't going to be a championship caliber college team. And just like in a few short years, how much he's flipped on all of these players. Just goes to show that whether you're at ESPN or Fox Sports 1 or whatever, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. Like, exactly. Nobody knows.
Yeah, we actually on Thursday, when you were barbecuing, we were talking about the Giants, the football Giants, and how their little clip from behind the scenes talking about Saquon, and how basically they're just talking about him kind of like how we talk about players. So like
nobody's going to pay for him. Nobody's going to offer him that in free agency.
Yeah. And they're just like, and they're completely wrong about it. And they're,
one guy in the room was right. Yeah. One guy was like the consciousness of the stupidity in that room.
Yeah.
He was that guy was the running back coach. No, I don't know. To think that nobody was going to pay Saquon Barkley or even Josh Jacobs, maybe they didn't go top dollar like some of these other free agents, but somebody was going to fit them under that salary cap. But just going back to the point, nobody knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody.
The difference between us talking fantasy football and those guys is they already had a foot in the door in all likelihood. Like, Nepo baby type stuff, or, they were just coaching forever and failed up, especially with the Giants. They definitely, a lot of those guys failed up, to be sure.
Well, we don't really have much on NFL, so it's okay for me to mention it. But my favorite comment after that whole video leaked is they asked the owner or the GM about it. And he said, we're paying this is their quarterback, Daniel Jones. We're paying Daniel Jones, $214 million. We're not paying him to hand off to a $12 million running back. I'm like, man, you could have saved face and you still couldn't do it. So, you know what? New York Giants, you stay as a poverty franchise. Awful. I'm cool with that.
Hey, coming back to the Warriors, I want to talk about the current roster versus last year's roster. Is the current roster right now, is this team a 47-win team or better? Because last year they were 47. They were almost a 50-win team.
I mean, they have to be, right? Because 50 gets you in the playoffs pretty much. Like, you're in the playoffs, probably about 50, 52 wins, right? So to say that they're better than last year, I would say they're going to be a lot younger than last year. And we're not going to have to be beating our heads against the wall about Steve Kerr trying to play some of these young kids because he has to. That being said, I think you have to be a 52-win team no matter what. I don't think this team is much more than that right now as it's constructed. But I think 52 is your benchmark. You got to get that many games to make the playoffs.
Hypothetically, if last year's stats mean nothing, but if you were a 52 win this past season, you would have been the 5 seed, and Dallas finished their season exactly with 50. So you would have been the 4 seed because the Clippers had 51 wins. So that puts you at the 4.
Yeah, I mean, basically in the West, I think the Jazz and the Blazers are the only 2 teams where I'm like, yeah, they're not doing anything. Everybody else is at least in it right now. I would think, they're at least gunning for the play-in tournament. So
I would say the Pelicans are probably a question mark for me at this point. They've probably fallen off a little bit. So
yeah, but I mean,
San Antonio is not.
I think San Antonio's on the rise.
I think so. I think San Antonio's going to make some noise.
They could. Memphis is another one. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They could make that, adjustment.
I think Phoenix is on the decline.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, I think, is going to be better. Jazz, I think they're not close.
I think the Warriors are right around 50 wins. I think they do get a couple extra wins, and then part of that, and I hate to say it, I think it's losing Klay. Actually.
Okay. Well, I was gonna. Me and Sam had the same thing. It's Draymond needs to be on the court.
Well, yeah, this is all contingent on Draymond behaving for the entire season.
Yeah, good boy.
Good luck with that. But I just think with Klay being gone, you don't have to force the issue with Klay, like Steve was doing, especially earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm. Trying to stroke that ego. I mean, let's call it what it was. I mean, I love Klay and still will be one of my all-time favorite Warrior for me. But we were definitely stroking some egos.
He just didn't truly come back from the 2 catastrophic leg injuries,
Mm-hmm.
Not fully at least. And I don't think I the defense was really what was gone from him. Like the shooting was mostly there. It was just the quickness on defense it just wasn't there. He doesn't have it anymore.
That being said, who in Dallas and their 5-3 position, maybe they slide Klay to a 4, but I don't think so. Who's guarding at the guards and the small forward position? All 3 of them ain't guarding. But what defense are they gonna play? Kyrie gonna play defense all of a sudden? Luka gonna figure out how to quit playing Olay defense? Klay gonna get that extra step all of a sudden? Like, I get that getting Klay offensively could be a beneficial to you, but also you lose somewhat defensively. And I don't know where they make that up in Dallas, because that was kind of one of their weak spots, was they didn't play defense. And look what happened. They got blown out by Boston because they didn't play defense. You just acquired a guy who is a step slower than what he used to be. So yeah, I don't know if that's honestly the greatest thing that they could have done, but hey,
I think for Dallas, I think I see them as kind of the same, 46, 47, 50 wins, maybe, I see a very thick middle.
Yeah.
Like it's a very crowded play in. And then like this past season, how teams kind of just fell into their spots, right? Like Oklahoma City Thunder is the number 1. Denver was the 1 seed for a majority of the year. And then there was a couple of weeks where Minnesota was the number 1 team. So I think the top 3 teams will probably stay as the top 3 teams as long as nothing catastrophic happens.
Right.
I actually think Denver will probably fall to the 3 seed because they lost a lot of pieces.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
I think Minnesota will probably shoot up to the 2 or I think they'll probably be the 1 seed. Me personally. But I think I see Oklahoma and Minnesota being the 1 or 2 seed. Denver will be there. I think the 4 and the 5 is available. But I don't know. What do you guys think of we got Slow-Mo, man. He's not a bad basketball player. He's a very smart basketball player. He has to be a better defender, right? He's kind of a read and go. Like he's not a guy that's going to create his own shot, but he's going to make the proper read and hit open looks. He's going to play smart defense. I think it's definitely an upgrade over having him over Klay. I don't think it's a huge upgrade because unfortunately Klay wasn't available to just do the defense, right? The defense of that Klay brought where he could just take a player out of the game.
Right.
But I think Kyle Anderson can slow a player down.
My question is this. All right. So I was a little frustrated with it because I was like, we just went from being a slow team to possibly being an even slower team. You know, like Kyle Anderson moves at his own beat, right? And he's good at that, and you know that's how you're the name slow mo turtle, you know. But my question is this: Kyle Anderson's probably not starting, right? Kuminga's going to start, right? So I think what Kyle Anderson, or at least what they did to bring in Kyle Anderson, now that I've had time to think about it, I think it's a pretty smart acquisition because you got rid of Chris Paul, who was I'm going to make the methodical move, and everything is going to be methodically done right to anchor that second offense, right? Which here and there
Didn't
he
really
played first, played second. Exactly. I think Kyle Anderson being younger and having, you know, a good defensive awareness and similar attributes of Chris Paul, maybe not Lob City, but making the right read when he has to every single time, because he led the league in like top 5 in assists for like the last like 6 seasons. So I think Kyle Anderson being the replacement for Chris Paul at the money that we got him, A+ trade. Honestly, A+ sign and deal trade, because now you got a guy who's going to anchor that second unit. Now Brandon Podziemski can go run off ball and learn to grow to be that type of player, while also being a defensive help for Kyle Anderson in that second unit as well too. So I think it's a great acquisition.
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about Buddy Hield yet. I mean, you get a guy who's I think I read somewhere over the past like 6 seasons, he's the second best 3-point shooter in the league or something.
He has the second most threes since 2017, behind one Stephen Curry.
Right. So, I mean, Buddy Hield's a very frustrating player. He can take over a game and go on a run of shooting. But just ask the Sacramento Kings fans, you know, he could shoot you out of a game too. So,
yeah, I agree. So the question begs, we all agree we're lacking size still, right? Like if you're going to compete against the top of the West, you need size, and we're definitely lacking it. And Draymond ain't going to get any younger. Getting beat up, you know, in the paint there isn't doing great wonders to his body. So I just don't know. There's 2 things that comes from this next question I asked is Lauri Markkanen is still on the table somewhat. Seems like it's kind of cooled down a little bit, but do you sell the farm for the remaining 2 years of Steph Curry? Or do you just stick with what you got and, you know, we're going to ride this out and Curry's going to leave, maybe Draymond leaves, Steve Kerr leaves, and now we're starting to open up the checkbook because we're not paying guys, you know, $300 million for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So
I think right now, this roster right now, I think we could see a maybe a 4 or 5 seed on a everything going the Warriors.
I think that's the ceiling. Yeah, the ceiling is like 4 seed. Yeah.
And if do I see them getting out of the Western Conference Finals? I don't. But even if they did, I think they're getting sliced and diced by whoever is coming out of the East. I think it's probably going to be Boston again, but this team is not beating Boston in the finals as is. I think if you are going to get to the finals and have a chance to win, then you have to add a star or a rising star. And I think you have to go all in for Markkanen or somebody that is young and going to be a superstar. My concern, right, is to get Markkanen is what are you giving up? Okay, draft picks, fine. Give up draft picks for the next whatever years. Because you need to win. You're trying to win one in the next 2 years because of Curry. So draft picks, don't care what they are, get rid of them. But if you're also getting rid of, say, JK, Pods, Moody, you know, Jackson Davis, like who the heck is the second unit? So the goal would be great to get Markkanen, but then who's on the second unit? Who's backing up these star players? Because you can give the game away As we've seen, when these role players come in, you can just give away a game. So it's a very slippery slope. But I think if you can make it work with draft picks, and maybe you got to say goodbye to JK. If it's draft picks and Jonathan Kuminga, I'm doing it.
I think it's draft picks, and I think it's pods, and potentially Moody. I think that's what's on the table. The Warriors are trying to get a third team, from what I last heard, into the mix to try and ease that blow. But I think it would be pods, Moody, and some draft picks.
I would do it.
Okay.
I would do it.
Yeah, I'm not selling the entire farm, but pieces of it, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's about trying to do everything you can, because obviously Stephen Curry is an all-world talent and deserves, if the window is still open even a little bit, you got to at least try to get through it,
Okay.
So,
well, we'll
And
stew
for
on
me,
this.
with JK, he would have to, if he is going to get that contract this season or next season at the end of the year, I think this is the season, if he's going to remain a Golden State Warrior, this is the season that we have to see that jump. And I know we were talking about it a little bit, Tyler, is I can't really, I know there's been moments of JK sightings of like, wow, look at that athleticism. Wow, look at what he can do. But I can't really recall a game that he took over and was clearly the best player on the court from beginning to end. There's been moments, but I can't really say there's been a game or two games where he's just been an absolute beast on everything.
I would say that there's some games where he's taken over and then didn't get to start or close out a fourth quarter. And you're like, well, why? Because Steve Kerr was playing favoritism with some of the roster that he had in there, right? So we didn't always get to see potential of that. I would say my opinion, my humble opinion, is that I think what is really going to be, for me, a big stepping stone for Kuminga, I think he did a better job offensively last year as far as securing the ball and making the right decisions. I think he did obviously a lot better, and he's showing improvements. Where I want to see Kuminga this year, I want his attitude to be better. I want him to understand that you're not going to always have your night. You're not going to always have your way. But he's always shown me that when he doesn't go his way, he pouts. He lacks on defense. He lacks on offense. His IQ goes out the window because he's so inside of his head. And I want to see that maturity happen. You were 19, you're 20, now you're 21. Like you're going to be 22 this year. We got to make sure that now we're starting to think poise. You've been in the league for a few years. And to me, that's where I want to see him improve the most. But we'll see. I think Warriors are going to pay him if they feel that he's the best player going forward, or they'll move him on and, we'll get a bunch of draft picks out of it. We'll see. So